While 2025 season run has already started, today marks the last actual race of 2024. Who will cap off week number 48 with a win? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round two of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Ending things out in the Far East, we return to Suzuka. Let's learn a little bit more about it with our track guide. Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degner's 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard? Well, this is quite a technical circuit. For a car like this, it's going to be pretty tricky.
It's always a driver and fan favorite out here. Suzuka, located in Japan, 3.6 miles and 17 turns in length. We're going to have to watch out for that new gravel model, too. I heard that thing is spitting up some debris pretty much everywhere around this place, but generally it is narrow and it is fast, and if you make any sort of mistakes here, you're definitely going to go off and pretty much either hit a guardrail, hit somebody else. Sector 1 is filled with those S-curves right there. You see 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You got to be on the racing line. Otherwise, you are very far behind the racetrack. Turn number 11 down there, that hairpin, it's always tricky because you got to get on the brakes, and turn 10 kind of feeds into it. You can have a really shallow line there through 11, which can hurt you on that exit. And then turn number 13, spoon curve, one of the most iconic curves out there in motorsports, is really, really wide and open on entry. And then it's a super late apex there that tightens. And then, of course, 130R is incredibly fast here. That leads into that turn 15, 16 Casio Triangle passing area. But we've seen plenty of races almost won, Joe, coming out of 16, but the leader actually gets loose in 17 and has tons of wheel spin. You got to be careful. It looks simple, but going out onto the front straightaway is far from.
Yeah, it is not the complete end of the lap once you brake for that chicane. That is for sure. Now, as for the championship, having had a single race down, Togo Hisata, with his win last time out, puts him ahead of Jorge Nieva and Mick Claridge. Audrius Valenteus, you can see a little bit farther down, or Adnan Grozdanich, there down in the 6th position. He had a bit of a run-in, of course, with Togo. So we'll try and see if they return to face off again here. Now, on Togo's home soil, that's going to be, I think, one of the big stories that we have for today's race. Of course, that is just the F1 standings. Let's take a look at the F2 standings.
F2 standings is just simply separated by iRating, and right now Roberto Pengrazi leads the way with those 60 points. Johan Brouwer back here, 27 points back in second place. Sandy Banerjee sitting in third. And then you see them all tighten up. Remember, very early days, only one round has been taken place so far. Jonathan Jordan, Ben Summers, all included inside that top 5.
And of course, we have the Nations Cup, and right now, Japan leading Spain. Of course, this is just as they finished in the race itself, pretty much. Lithuania up there, not a country that you tend to expect to see pop up all that often, but of course, with Valenteus representing, he is pretty high up there. But, of course, we need to familiarize our audience with what this race itself is going to be like. Joey, why don't you run down our race details?
Round 2 of 12 this season. It's going to be 16 laps around Suzuka. An open setup, which means that you get to open up that garage tab, tweak and tune on that car. If you don't feel that it's driving right, well, go ahead and make some adjustments out there. And then, of course, the community always likes to share what is fast, so go join that Discord. No spare car, so if you go running into a competitor or into a wall, you're going to have to live with the damage or come down pit road and get that thing fixed up. A drive-through penalty at 17 incident points here and a disqualification at 25 incidents. At Suzuka, there is actually a lot of runoff. However, you're going quite fast in these cars. You're probably going to reach to a wall or, even worse, somebody else's car.
Yeah, you do see a lot of tangles, especially in open wheelers around here. It's going to be tricky for these vehicles to try and keep it clean today. We're waiting for the first lap times to be put in qualifying. But before we get to those, let's also remind you that if you like what you see out here, you can actually join in. And now is the perfect time because it's 50% off new memberships here on iRacing. So go to iRacing.com/holiday-sale and you can sign in now through January 5th and get half off of your subscription. So all new members, if you haven't joined in with iRacing, you'll want to try and do it now. The other interesting thing about our attendance today here, Joey, is I was looking at some of the stats. The winningest driver on the broadcast races here, Mick Claridge, and he is here today.
Yeah, I see him in the number 3 car right now, and the times are just now starting to roll in. Everybody's got 8 minutes here in qualifying, 2 laps to set the grid. It is currently Leo Sequeiro, but trust me, things are going to be shuffling quite fast. But hang on. Remember last round, Leo was doing tons of performance out there. He was sitting inside the top 5, and even as we get 10 or more times on the board, he's still sitting up there as Mick now finally takes it away.
And not too great of a surprise. I believe he's got 2 poles here as well, 3 wins underneath his belt. But we wait to see what Togo can do. This is very much a local track. We understand he lives quite close to the circuit itself. And of course, Valenteus is always one to watch out for. In fact, speaking of the stats, I was looking through some of the records, and Togo Hisada, despite only having 18 wins, I think he has something like 45 pole positions. I didn't realize that he was so quick over a single lap.
He always is. And then I think the best part about his driving style with these 49s is he's always comfortable, right? He is comfortable to put the car in an odd area on the racetrack. Now, in qualifying, you don't have to worry about anybody else as he executes the dang near perfect racing line through Spoon Curve, which is so gosh dang difficult. But he's comfortable. It doesn't matter if he's on the inside, if he's on the outside, if he's 3 wide on an oval. He's just comfortable in these 49s.
Definitely seems like it. And his first lap around, we'll need to put him up in the 2:01 range. Only 2 drivers have hit that so far. Mick Claridge and Audrius Valenteus, separated by about 1/10 of a second on the front row. Here comes Togo. He's going to cross the line. Let's see what he puts down. 2:01.6. That is pole by another 0.2 over Mick.
Yeah, that was an impressive opening lap. Typically, we do see that the second lap is a little bit faster, and this is a driver that did not have a very good round number 1, had a poor qualifying effort, and then ultimately made a way through the field. Was our biggest mover, but I think he only resulted in about a 10th place finish. Seb Tixier goes onto the board at 8th for his first lap. I'm sorry, that was his second lap.
Second, yeah, I was going to say he missed that first one, and he almost had the same thing as last week where he botched both of his laps back at Bathurst. Thankfully, not the case. Mick Claridge looks like he is out of qualifying. Not sure what happened, but he has not taken his second lap. So Valenteus going to be the next one across. And yeah, it looks like Seb crashed on his first lap, he said, and almost crashed on the second lap. So he very nearly did have a repeat. Nieva up to 5th after his first lap as Kurt Clapper goes to 33rd.
I'm watching Valenteus on my screen over here. He's going through 130R right now, and we've got about 25 seconds left in qualifying. I think that he will be able to at least cross the line. Let's see what Jorge Nieva puts down, a 201.775. That should put him on the front row, at least temporarily. Let's see what this number 1 car can put down here.
Across the timing line, second lap is a 201.7. That's not enough to get past Hisada, which is interesting because Hisada's not going to be able to get to the line for his second lap. So he won't have to respond to that one. Incredible stuff from the local, which will wrap up qualifying and give us a very interesting grid. About a dozen cars, it looks like, did not set one out there. So a lot of people are going to be having a difficult one starting from the back. As Togo Hisada on the top spot will be flanked by Valenteus. It is round 2 between these two. Nieva starting from 3rd. Mick Claridge gets bumped down to 4th because of that. And then it's Leo Sequeiro staying in the top 5 and Kevin Verbruggen rounding out those first 3 rows. Nicola Kaki starts 7th as Seb Tixier at least puts himself in 8th today. Gary Ho in 9th and John Olsen wrapping up your top 10.
Antonio Vasquez will start from 11th position with David Rossi lined up next to him in 12th. Juan Rodriguez starts 13th with Akuliski in 14th. Bill Tyler 15th. Marco Salgado back here in 16th. Alan Graham 17th. Jem Matson 18th. Hannah Fechner in 19th. And Shady Ahmad rounding out your top 20.
Matthew Maudsley starts 21st, Bongrazi in 22nd, and then you got Grissinger in P23. Tobias Harnvey starts 24th, and then the quarter-century mark goes to Robert Plumley. It's Sandeep Banerjee in at 26, Jonathan Jourdain in the 27th spot, and Jan Steffen 28th. Thomas Tuba and Arnold Cook are row 15.
Andres Bruno is going to be starting 31st with Andrew Eng next to him in 32nd. Kurt Clapper 33rd, Ben Summers 34th. David Muse, 35th. Tim Porter back here, 36th. Mikhail Hornell in 37th. Douglas Nelson, 38th. Clapper and Ruiz round out the 40th.
Cam Porter in 41st. Garcia, 42nd. And then you've got Villershausen in 43rd. These are all drivers that didn't set a time. Burnett in 44th. Linden at 45th. Tromp in the 49th spot. We've got Donald Peake, 46th. 47th, Gore Nixon. And then we've got Trump, as my grid was a little bit mixed up on my screen. Looks like drivers are pretty well ready to go. It's a cool morning race. Well, it is afternoon, honestly, but it's still cool temperatures out there as the lights are now up and the green flag is out. Coming off the line, Togo Hisada, not the greatest of starts, especially the second phase. Here comes Valenteus up the inside. Is he going to be able to take the lead away down into turn 1? Togo's going to try and outbrake him around the outside. He's going to hang tough, but it's not enough, and Valenteus will take the lead.
Look at the cars stream through 1 and 2, and I think this is one of the coolest shots in motorsports. Over 40 cars, 47 cars weaving their way through the S's here at Suzuka.
Whew, it is a lot of them out there. At least one looks to have started from pit lane. I think that's Mats Linden. And up through the S's, Valenteus gets that valuable track position where it is not necessarily easy to pass here.
That's a key point about Suzuka. If you have track position, like you said, it can be difficult to make those passes. However, you were highlighting how much knowledge that driver who currently sits in second place has around here.
Coming up to the hairpin for the first time. Look how frantic it is in the middle of the pack. Drivers trying so hard to use this opportunity. Try and get up the inside there. That's Jim Matson attacking on Salgado. Salgado goes a little bit wide, but he gets the better exit. It's so tight off of there, it's hard to put the throttle down.
And Salgado will crucially have the shorter distance, but I actually think he cracks the throttle just a touch, which allows Matson that 17th place position as the field heads into the spoon curve just in front of him. Did you see how busy that is? I believe that's Rossi, Fechner, Bill Tyler all in this group.
Indeed. Oh, and a little bit off the course behind them with Matthew Maudsley as well. Now they pick up speed, and 130R definitely not flat out in these cars. You are hitting the brakes, but then the one they've really got to worry about is the Casio Triangle, where we're told a lot of gravel is being dropped off the cars coming into that corner, making it a treacherous braking zone.
Riding on board here with Banerjee. Got to be careful because he had a car to the inside, and there you see he switched back, and that 32 was then had to take the narrow line through the second part of the chicane, and actually it's Maudsley there, that red car, that was able to put the hammer down through 17, and if anything, Banerjee is now in trouble because here comes Jonathan Jourdain taking a look into turn one.
Going to try and outbrake him down into the corner, but no dice as Banerjee's going to be able to hold off Jourdain. There he is, hard to miss in that bright pink number 28. They get back to single file, now heading through the snake again.
Look at all of that debris being tossed up from these cars. It is so cool to see that new model from iRacing, and with these drivers and this track, Joe, I have a feeling that it's easy to clip an apex curve, maybe a little bit plus, and pick up some of that grass and gravel, throw it at your competitor behind you.
Exactly. It's going to make offline very dirty, I imagine, around many spots on this track, making passing even more difficult. Mick Claridge is on it on Togo Hisada. Tried to sneak in through the hairpin, but nothing happening this time. Hisada still sitting in second. Nieva having lost that third position to Mick just recently.
We are working, call it lap number 2, about 2/3 of the way lap number 2, but I'm actually incredibly impressed how big this front group still is. I mean, we're looking at 8, nearly 9 cars all the way back to Seb Tixier. It's not like Valenteus has immense amount of pace over everybody else and is just running away.
It's a fair point. He's going to have to try and get on top of it here a little bit. Wide coming from Togo Hisada. But that is some of the AstroTurf, although that'll open him up as Mick Claridge breaks a little too deep coming down into the triangle, and that will compromise him. Will he get passed by Nieva? No, Nieva's balked off the corner.
He just couldn't get the power down where he needed it to, otherwise he would have ran straight through Mick Claridge. I think that Mick did a terrific job just to kind of put the car on the racing line, and we talked about how difficult turn number 17 can be. You can't be too wide and keep the throttle 100%. Nieva did a good job to avoid Mick Claridge, though. That gap between second and third has grown.
So a really fascinating battle up at the front, that is for sure. And Nieva still close behind Leo Sequeiro in there as well. He's the green and red there. You can see Kevin Verbruggen also, excuse me, he's the green and red that we've got on our screen currently. And just sizing him up, coming up to the Degner corners. Double right-hand apexer here into this one. And you can see how narrow it is into there as all of them on that same line down at the apex.
Got a rather love-hate relationship with those Degner corners. I think they're some of the coolest and most fun to drive, but man, if you step a toe wrong, you are in trouble. Let's watch Douglas Nelson just really loose. Oh, actually, I think Douglas gets a little bit of help from behind him. I'm not sure which car that was, but several cars off. I assume that was the opening lap that we had.
That was Mike Cornell in front of him, who seems to have had an issue of his own, and I wonder if he was just reacting to the accident that was happening and lost control of the car. Back up to the top 10 once again. Verbruggen climbing all over Leo Sequeiro, and he's got a good exit coming out of Spoon. Here we go. Up to 130R. Does he dare take it too wide? Yes, he does. Nope, he backs out of it at the last second.
I think that was smart, right? Oh, there goes Sequeiro wide on exit, so a new door opens. Verbruggen's going to be on the wrong side of the road and backs out of this one at the last second. Can he capitalize? Maybe putting the power down? No, if anything, he's got that bright green helmet all in his mirrors. That's the Nicola Kaki there.
Yeah, he's caught up to them because of the fighting that they've had. He's got a good opportunity if they continue squabbling like this. They break for turns 1 and 2, despite that being a passing opportunity. Unless you're alongside, it's just not happening. So he hangs out and back once again. That's Seb Tixier still in behind them as well.
A great point. I was maybe expecting Tixier to be moving forward a little bit better with a slightly better qualifying, but looks like he's going to be hanging out in 8th place for now, as Sequeiro still has Verbruggen and Cocky just all over the gearbox as they work their way through the snake section. This is exiting turn number 7 and coming up to turns 8 and 9, the Degner turns that we were just talking about.
Only lost one car so far. Doug Nelson, the only retiree, is, my goodness, he's getting close, is Verbruggen. Sebastian Gore, what happens through what looks like Spoon Curve? The car breaks loose. He overcorrects a couple times, and around she goes.
One of the trickiest turns in all of motorsports. Spoon Curve, it's so fast on entry, it's so open and inviting on entry, and then it tightens on exit. I mean, we're going to watch it right here with this battle between Nieva and Claridge. You see how open it is. There goes Claridge, really taking advantage of what I'm going to call the sim racing line, but as long as you can count those incident points up and not step over the limit, it's okay.
He can rack up if he does too many of those, that's for sure. He's only got 16 laps, which will put him, even if he does it 1 per lap, that is right up against a penalty. As Verbruggen makes it stick this time over Sequeiro, takes 5th place away. Cocky wants to try to follow him through, but can't do it as both of them defend down to the inside.
Cocky's going to have a little bit of a better line to exit out of turn 16 and 17, and he is definitely on the back of Sequeiro now on that number 7 car. Let's see if he can utilize this draft maybe a little bit. It is just so fast down here into turn number 170 miles an hour. You see him showing the nose, and it's definitely Sequeiro leaving room, and now the 4 car pushes the issue. We're going to be side by side entering the S's.
Someone's going to have to give way, or else they're going to lose a lot of time. A little bit of a nose ahead for Cocky, and he gets it done. Sequeiro down 2 positions within 1 lap. It could be 3, because he's still got Seb Tixier, as you can see, looming in that dark-colored car.
Oh, and he overshoots maybe a little bit on the entry there, but if anything, Cocky slips up on the exit, so these 3 are still packed incredibly tight. See how much curb they take. A lot of it, all of it. They're on the inside and outside of turn number 8, and the same thing with turn number 9. If anything, it was Tixier that was off of the racing line and loses a little bit of ground.
Leo definitely sporting an appropriate livery for this track. It's a Honda test track, and that's the old Honda Formula One car that he's got painted on his car. And so does Togo Hisada, which is pretty traditional for Togo. Coming up into the braking, he suddenly switched gears from trying to defend on Mick Claridge. He is on the attack and really all over the gearbox of the number 1.
It took a few laps, huh? It seemed to kind of be a little bit of a slow start for Togo Hisada, and then once kind of the tires warmed up, here comes a run into 130R. Just, he ain't going to make that move on Valenteus. He knows that basically just shut the door. The brake zone isn't big enough, but here he is in the middle of the racetrack. So, Joe, to your point, the attack mode from Togo Hisada, our leader is already feeling it.
Togo said that he apologized last week. He didn't like that he made contact, and that got him the win in the end. He's going to want to try and make this one clean, no doubt. As fierce as he is on the track, he wants to try and do it right, and he's going to do it right around the outside. Maybe he breaks as deep as he dares, but Audrius will deny him.
Remember that opening lap where our pole sitter was Togo Hisada, but it was actually Valenteus that snuck up the inside of turns 1 and 2, and you just saw again right there, the inside of 1 and 2 is where you want to be in these 49s, right? You don't have those wings, that downforce to really kind of help you around the middle of the track in that high-speed area. So I think if we're looking for passing or posturing, inside and 1 is where you want to be.
Yeah, definitely. It's so hard to try and do it the hard way there. So the top 4 still nose to tail, carrying on through the Degners. They've dropped Verbruggen now, who is at the lead of that second train with all the fighting they've had. We're starting to get a bit of a breakaway at the front of the fields, and this is getting close once again between Claridge and Hisada. But I didn't think that was happening down through the hairpin. They'll switch gears coming through 200R up to Spoon. What's going to happen through this difficult double left-hander?
Claridge is showing the nose into Spoony. I mean, he's just crawling all over the back of Togo Asada. Once again, uses that really, really wide line to try to square up this exit, but Asada is just too good, puts the power down up and over those exit curbs, and I feel like Claridge is just kind of like a bug at a barbecue right now for Hisada, because I think if he gets by Togo, I don't know if he's got the ultimate pace to go up there and really race for the lead. He's just kind of bugging Togo right now in the mirrors.
Well, he hasn't pestered him out of that second place quite yet, but he could distract him if he plays his cards right, especially since Togo's been so focused forward with his speed that he's got today, and that could allow Andreas Valenteus to run away. That's the thing I think that they need to be careful, is if they fight too hard, you don't want to give a gap to that one car.
And that's exactly my point, right? If Claridge is up there just annoying the heck out of Hisada and Togo's got to deal with them, well, that's taking away attention that he needs to be focusing on the front. As looks like this battle for 15th is heating up. Oh my goodness, I believe that was Rossi getting ejected off to the left side of the racetrack.
Yeah, it was indeed. Someone made a little bit of contact, tipped him off in the braking zone, and once he hit the wall, one of his wheels separated, and that was it. Kurt Clapper with the climb up the field once again, the 24 car up to 25th so far. He's gained about 8 positions.
Where exactly he's running. He's trying to get that 24th position, so trying to get that 9th position that you were just mentioning there as we get this replay. I think this was Hannah Fechner getting into the right rear wheel. She's the one looking down to the inside, and I think there's just a tiny bit, and you know what, from that view, Joe, it even looked like some net code. It was very, very close.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a strange place for the rear wheels to clip, but not the fronts. But, yeah, that is just unfortunate for both of them. And I'm sure maybe an apology or so, an explanation afterwards once they can look at the replay. Shady Ahmad back here in 18th amidst a whole slew of cars. Jim Matson leading the train up in 16th position. Salgado just ahead, and then behind you've got Plumley and Graham.
I love it. I love seeing this racing. Call it halfway through this race, and this is still a giant pack of about 7, 8 cars or so, and actually got some space on either side of them. So a big group right here that is all very, very similar pace as they work their way through 130R. You see on the top of the screen that purple fast lap, our leader, Valenteus, at 2:01.4.
Picking up the pace now that he can really focus on his lap time. Hannah Fechner being caught by that group. Meanwhile, back to Seb Tixier. Still having trouble with Leo Sequeiro, but now he is able to dominate and give himself that 7th position. One down, a few more to go.
I'm still just, call me a little flabbergasted over here, Joe, because Seb Tixier is usually one of these drivers that is at the front, inside the top 3, and maybe it just goes to the point that you opened this one with. Suzuka is not an easy place to pass.
It's not, and I get the sense that maybe Seb didn't put as much time into this one. I know that he kind of stepped away from taking it as seriously for a bit, maybe wasn't practicing as hard, and he came in asking how many liters can get you to the end. Usually don't say that unless you haven't really put serious time into your setup.
It's a great point as you see Vasquez almost get into the back of John Olsen there into the hairpin. Olsen capitalizes on the exit, and kind of back to talking about Tixier because he is a previous champion, right? I expect him to kind of get up there, and so maybe if he isn't turning in those practice laps, these more difficult technical tracks, he might struggle a little bit with just to kind of get up there in those first few laps.
Jim Matson at the front of this group still that we were talking about. They caught Fechner for a little bit, but she seems quicker during the middle of the lap. Let's see if they once again start to reel her back in. Coming into the braking, Togo Hisada side by side with Mick Claridge coming out of the final chicane. Does Mick finally have this one done? He'll have the inside coming up to turns 1 and 2. All he has to do is try and outbrake Togo into that corner, and already he pulls a nose head by the first apex. He is clear. Togo tries to cut back underneath. That was clever, but he wasn't quite there.
Then you see him just kind of stepping on each other on the corner exit because Mick couldn't get going, and then Togo couldn't get going, and Nieva couldn't get going because of it. Just one big giant accordion effect. But because of that battle, look at Andres Valenteus, our leader. He has gone from, call it 2 or 3 tenths up the road to 2.5 seconds up the road.
Togo might have the rising sun on his car to help him, but Mick Claridge has that Ferrari livery, and Ferrari has had a lot of good times here at Suzuka in the past. Can he use that to now run down Andres Valenteus, get himself another win? He has the most wins of anybody in this car, holding that record after being in this series pretty much since the beginning of it, and has dominated for much of the time. He was away for a long period as he was trying to ride around the world on his bike, but has stepped away for that and returned to show these somewhat newcomers who's who.
Since you had mentioned the liveries, and I know that Claridge is sporting that Ferrari livery, it's the other series, the other vintage series, the 79s. I can't remember which driver. Maybe it's Rodriguez. Wouldn't the Ferraman livery be perfect for here?
Oh, that would be great. Now that you say that, yeah. Can't wait for that to show up. Needs to have a good race for that one. Back to Jim Matson once again. He lost positions. Why is he down in 20th now?
Definitely, and it happened this lap. I see him about minus 3.5 seconds. And Joe, I can report, looks like he made a mistake exiting that hairpin. It can be difficult with these cars. That engine, we always speak so highly of that motor sitting in the back. Well, it also produces a lot of horsepower, and you got to be careful with your right foot.
That's true. Only down to 3 cars now at this stage that have DNF'd in this race. Down the inside for Seb Tixier. Does he get another? Yes, he does. Kevin Verbruggen gets put back along with Sequeiro. Up to 6th position now for Seb Tixier. Might have to stop at a top 5, though. Nicola Kaki, the next one in front of him, and then it's 5 seconds up to Nieva. Unless Seb is being supremely held up on raw pace, I don't think he's going to be able to run them down in about 6 laps.
Agreed. I think a top 5 is probably the best he can hope for, barring no mistakes from the other competitors in the front. I mean, we've seen in those last couple laps, the gloves definitely do come off, and he is 5.5 seconds back. He's not going to make it up under green flag conditions, but if one of those cars maybe goes off the racetrack or has a spin, even in a slow section, it can definitely potentially open the door. And where Tixier got his move done down there in turn number 1, I think is his strong suit as a racing driver. He is so good on the brake pedal with these cars. If he's in the draft, even if he's right on your bumper, you better watch out for that guy.
Wheels in the grass there for a brief moment from Verbruggen, going way wide through 200R. And I only just realized now that he's got a Christmas theme on.
Oh, yeah.
His paint. That is lovely. We'll see whether or not the festiveness will help him get a few positions back. In the meantime, we need to go back to Togo Hisada because he's side by side on 130R with Mick Claridge right now. And as they exit the corner, Mick's going to have the inside coming down into the Casio triangle. Both of them getting close to our leader coming into the corner, and they'll somehow manage it. Oh, no, that's a lapped car. Excuse me, that's not our leader. And that gets in the way of Togo Hisada, who has to actually slow down because he hits the back of the car.
Yeah, that was Mikael in the 44 car, and now he spins out in front of the rest of the field because he's got a damaged car. Thankfully, everybody avoids, but, I mean, as you documented, chaos at the front.
Real shame. Meanwhile, Kaki and Tixier, wow. Once he got one, I mean, Seb Tixier figured out how it was done, and he just sliced through the rest of them. Did not take long at all. That puts him up into the top 5 now. Now I'm very curious because his best lap so far is a 2:02.1. So we'll see if he can cut down on that and get into the 2:01s and maybe try and make up some time on those top 4.
This battle that we're watching is Bill Tyler in the white and blue car all over the back end of the number 20. That is Juan Rodriguez with that lime green helmet. And then Don't forget about Gary Ho with that purple car with the purple helmet, always joining us, providing some of those awesome in-car camera shots, diving down into turn number 8. Actually, all of them look pretty equal distant right here. All of them put the power down nicely, climbing up all over those curves. And this is that mistake area down here into turn number 11, that hairpin. But it looks like all three of these drivers are pretty well-minded and actually have a level head on their shoulders from what I see.
Definitely. And you need that around this track. You can't make any frantic decisions. Everything has to be so calculated around here. They're going to stay in line, maybe waiting for the exit of Spoon Curve, looking to get that better traction out of the second apex and down the back straightaway, which Rodriguez definitely gets good traction, pulls himself a couple car lengths clear.
Sometimes this racetrack is just difficult to drive. We mentioned it can be a fan and driver favorite, but it is so technical that sometimes if you find drivers that are very, very similar in pace, it is just pretty much doing laps out there, trying to find that little itty-bitty fraction of an inch out there on the racetrack that can open a door, and that was maybe it, but then Rodriguez kind of closed it. Here comes Gary Ho on the straightaway.
Oh, he's got a very good run, but he's going to have to be brave into the braking zone. He's not quite fully alongside Bill Tyler yet. He is brave in the braking zone. Maybe too brave. Can he tuck it down to the second apex? No, he's going to miss out. Bill Tyler says, thank you, there's my opening. He's going to try to stick his foot in the door, but no, it gets shut, and Gary Ho will finish the pass for 12.
You're getting the inside shots. I had mentioned that Gary Ho always provides us the inside of his sim rig. There he is in virtual reality with the Lotus steering wheel, with the shifter, even has the full motion rig. Joe, he's even got the seatbelts on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean, it is a motion rig. It's probably a good idea to keep himself nice and secured in. I doubt it's going to throw him off, but maybe that'll just keep him, much better secured so that it doesn't hurt his driving. Meanwhile, coming out of the Degners, that's going to be Gary Ho maybe getting another one because Rodriguez was a little slow, but he's going to defend the inside.
I feel like if Gary wants to take the immersion level up a notch, I mean, he was sitting there in shorts. That is way too comfortable. It needs to be about 140 degrees if he's inside the race car. But I guess these are open cockpits. That might work out.
Oh, Seb Tixier just undid all his hard work and falls to the back. And he got on the radio for something, not sure what it was, but couldn't quite hear what he was saying. He falls down to 8th after he did so much work to get to top 5.
Yeah, and I saw the mistake, but what I thought was interesting is that Tixier had actually already gotten the position back from, Cocky had already gotten the position back from Tixier, so there was something that might happen in the lap prior to this as well.
So here's the replay. Now, he did that himself. Wow. Yeah. That's a rare mistake from Seb Tixier. And just oversteered through the corner. Couldn't quite save it. But, I mean, great job by everybody else to keep that from becoming an accident.
He might have been getting on the radio and saying, did you guys see how cool I looked out there? I just entirely drifted through Spoon.
Meanwhile, back up with Jorge Nieva here in 3rd place. Togo Hisada has got to be a bit miffed right now. Started this one on pole, and yet he's not even on the podium at his home track. He's watching the leader now 4 seconds ahead of this group. This is not going to plan.
Not going to plan. However, sometimes plans change, right? And you have to kind of take what's on the table in front of you. Togo's smart. You know, yes, you only have a few laps left, but be smart about this. Do you need to get Nieva right now? It can be a little bit further down the road. However, if you want to...
It's right close behind Jorge coming up into Spoon Curve. Claridge is trying to run away as quick as he can now that he's kind of clear of these two. Let's see what happens out of Spoon coming onto the throttle as both of them get that power down, and then the Ford-Cosworth unleashes up towards 130R, but it can't be flat out through here. Let's listen in. In fact, downshifting a gear, coming into the corner and a bit wide from Hisada will cost him some time.
Looks like they navigate their way around a lap car, which conveniently stays out of the way very nicely. That was, I believe, Sebastian Gore understanding the race that's going on right in front of him. So a little bit of a serpentine now from Claridge down the front straightaway. I think that proves how powerful this slipstream can be as the drivers nearly 190 miles an hour before they have to jump onto the brakes here. Togo Asada really closing in on Nieva, but then the number 2 car puts the power down coming out of turn number 2, and now there's going to be no way passing. You just got to stay on the racing line through the S's.
I think people forget that while this is the days before wings and aero on these cars, and so they were just these sleek cigar tubes, the engine is exposed back there. So yes, they're pretty aerodynamic, but when they get up to high speeds, it punches a big hole in the air.
It does punch a big hole, and I'm sorry, I was just watching Nieva, and he was full opposite lock coming out of turn number 7, just barely hanging on to the car as Bill Tyler still hounds the back of Juan Rodriguez here on screen.
Coming up into Dunlop curve here, uphill. Whoa! Cars into the back. Seb Tixier and Kevin Verbruggen with a big hit. Coming out of the second, Degner Verbruggen is out. Seb Tixier is trying to limp the car around, but it does not look in good condition.
No, he's got heavy front left damage, and there you see him pulling off to the side. He has taken that tow back to pit road. I'll go back and see exactly what happened, but I don't think that Tixier caused this one per se.
Try and give a look at it a little bit later, but Bill Tyler here in a battle. Oh, Verbruggen going wide. Tries to counter steer too much, and unfortunately that puts himself right on the racing line. Last minute decision to go the other way did not work for the number 8s.
Yeah, really difficult from Tixier, but honestly, he's going to have to point at himself after this one, Joe, because remember, he'd already made all those passes. It was his mistake that put him back there.
Certainly, and again, weaving. McClarridge doesn't like how close Jorge Nieva is, nor Togo Hisada, continuing to switch back and forth. Now 2 laps left to go. And to be fair to Seb, he got on to the text chat and said, "You're all good. I saw that you had stopped and was doing my best to avoid, just was too late."
Yeah, absolutely, right? Sometimes they're called racing incidents for a reason, and sometimes not everybody comes out the other side with smiles, but at least he was able to understand what the issue was. It looks like Bill Tyler, Juan Rodriguez were once again kind of side by side as our lead battle with a lap and a half remaining here. Second, third, and fourth. I wonder if Togo Hisada can get the pass done this lap, which could potentially have him challenge that red number 3 on the last lap.
At least he's going to want to try and do that, even if it looks like the win might be a foregone conclusion at this stage. This very good off the corner is Vasquez in the meantime back here in 8th position. Couple drivers gaining some spots recently, fighting for the 7th spot with John Olsen just in front of him. That's in the green number 14 that you see there.
Both of these drivers having very good days out there on the racetrack, +3 for both of them. And I think we need to jump back up to Togo Hisada because he might be making a move here into 130R. He's next to Jorge Nieva. He's side by side. He outbrakes him, and there's the move up into 3rd.
Brave stuff. Second time we've seen Togo Hisada try something like that. Coming down to the braking right up to the edge of the grass. Car sliding through. He is chucking it through the corners as they get the white flag for 1 to go. 1 lap, 1 more spot to at least salvage a P2.
Remember, he started on pole position as it looks like we're also going to go side by side. Gary Ho almost into the back of Rodriguez. That opens the door for Tyler. Gary's going to be on the inside going into the chicane here late on the break, so he at least gets that 10th place position. And now out onto the front straightaway they go.
Gary didn't need both hands on the wheel. I think he'd be wiping his brow after that one. It was close stuff between the pair of them. Doesn't get the run he needs coming down into the first corner. Maybe a bit more defense than attack, if anything.
Oh, Joe, he needs both hands on the wheel, and he can't wipe the brow. He's in virtual reality over there.
I mean, there should be some open space for some sweat to come out. Meanwhile, Liski here in a nice little battle with the 16 as well. Chopping back and forth between them. Offline in the S's is bad news.
Yeah, and now we're going to see Liski really offline there, and let's see if Salgado can capitalize that. There just isn't room to go too wide there, and so even if you're slightly offline, as long as you can course correct to the back half of that, you can at least accelerate through the rest.
Speaking of the back half, Valenteus already to the back half of the lap with just a few more corners to go. Number one on the car wasn't number one on the grid, but that didn't matter. He made the pass immediately down into the first corner right off the line. A little bit of lap traffic in front of him. That's not really going to matter that much. That's well clear of him at this stage. So Valenteus gets his revenge, if you will, and the home circuit of Togo Husada, who beat him down under at the first round. Valenteus is going to be your winner here at Suzuka in the Grand Prix Legend Series.
And you got to jump. Jorge Nieva might steal away third position from Togo Husada. He can't put the power down. Jorge Nieva is going to end up on the podium, putting Togo down into fourth.
Wow. 0.07 of a second between them at the line. He is going to be regretting getting that little bit loose coming off the corner there. Meanwhile, behind them, Gary Ho still trying to see if he can pick up a spot off of Rodriguez, but not happening. Rodriguez will wrap it up in ninth, and Gary Ho at least gets a top 10.
Here you see Jason Clapper come across the line. He's going to be our biggest mover. So this was the fight going into the chicane on the final lap. Togo made a move around the outside, which made Mick going way too deep. And then it was all the over-unders. Togo couldn't capitalize, and then Nieva forced the nose down to the inside of 17. You see Togo can't put the power down. The back end of the car just squirming all over the place. Nieva stole away that third place.
An excellent one from our current reigning champion. Could he maybe get himself another championship title this season? And would that extra couple points be valuable as Cam Porter now crosses the line to come home in 27th? A little bit farther down the order for him today, unfortunately. Well, that is going to wrap up our race. So let's go through our finishing order for today. Adrius Valenteus, again, coming home with the win after taking the top spot very early at the start of the race. McClarridge finishes P2, and Jorge Nieva finishes third. Togo won't even get to celebrate on the podium at Suzuka today. Nick Kaki will finish P5. Sequeiro in 6. Olsen gets promoted up to 7th with that late accident we had. Vasquez 8th, Rodriguez 9th, and Gary Ho, as we covered, was 10th.
In 11th, we have Marco Salgado, and then becomes our biggest mover. 12th place, that's Jason Clapper. He started all the way back in 39th position today, gaining 27 spots there to finish in 12th. Liski back here in 13th with Plumley in 14th. Bill Tyler finishes with the top 15 with Shady Ahmad in 16th. Jim Matson 17th. Alan Graham here in 18th. Hannah Fechner slips down to 19th after gaining actually quite a few positions in the beginning half of the race. And Kirk Clapper, a good race as well, up 13 to finish in 20th.
21st is going to go to Tobias Harnvey with Roberto Pongrazi in 22nd, Grissinger 23rd, and Jourdain 24th. Then Thomas Tuba up 4 spots to take P25. Andre Bruno to 26. Cam Porter, as we said, 27th today, didn't manage to set a qualifying time, so he had to pass a lot of cars actually to get just to that spot. Garcia, same for him, up to 28th. Stefan 29th, and Ben Summers 30th.
Thomas Willershausen will finish in 31st position with Mats Linden in 32nd. Sean Burnett in 33rd. Don Peak back here in 34th. Andrew Ang finishing in 35th. David Muse 36th. We had 36 cars all on the lead lap today. And then comes the cars that are one lap down or had issues. That includes Banerjee, Gore, Verbruggen, Tixier back here in 40th.
And then from there on down, almost all DNFs except Ruiz and Hornell, who got the cars back on track to finish up the race. None of the others got to see the checkered flag. A huge field, and honestly, only a small amount of DNFs comparatively on that one. So I don't think we can be too disappointed. Curious if Nieva's disappointed with third or if he's thrilled with that one. So let's talk to him and see what he thinks about that race, because it certainly was exciting to watch. Jorge, third, but right at the line, literally. That was exciting.
Yeah. I didn't know if I could manage to win that position, but I think Todo had a little bit of wheels spinning too much, and I could make it.
Yeah, it was very, very tight. And so was the battling in that top group all throughout the race. You tend to be one that kind of bides his time and waits for opportunities to show themselves. Is that what you were doing today with everybody just running line astern for so long?
I wasn't able to pass them. I couldn't even try. They are really, really fast. I was with them only because the slipstream with this car is huge, so I could follow their pace, but they were much faster than me.
Well, quite a good start to the season. 2 podiums to start it off, but we're off to the Red Bull Ring, which is going to be very different to this track. How do you feel about Austria?
Well, it has long straight, so it must suit me because I'm a slipstream guy. I hope I can follow them.
Yeah, that's true. It could open up some opportunities for you. We'll watch out for you, and congratulations on a third today.
Thank you, guys.
Jorge Nieva finishing P3, and we mentioned a little bit earlier, Cam Porter farther down, but had to make a lot of passes. I think Joey has caught up with him.
Yeah, Cam Porter with a good day today, gaining 14 positions. How did it feel?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, no, I was just saying that you had a good day today. You gained 14 positions in all for the race. How did it feel for you?
It was okay. I messed up my qualifying. I crashed in qualifying, so I didn't get a qualifying lap in today, which is the first time that I've done that in a long time. So just wanted to try to stay clean. I was super careful at the beginning because there was a lot of cars around me, and just try to stay consistent and clean today. And I managed to do that and made up a few spots. So can't be too disappointed in my results today.
You actually kind of led me into my next question, the traffic, right? Where you started today, that first lap from your point of view was wild. I mean, there was cars 3 wide in front of you. Did you have a set plan in terms of how aggressive you wanted to be, or is it just kind of seat of the pants?
I was going to be not aggressive, actually. I planned to be really careful, and I was, I feel like I probably could have been more aggressive on the opening laps, but safety was my top priority today. I knew the traffic was going to be bonkers at the beginning, especially on lap 1 through the S's and stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to stay clean and consistent today.
It worked out for you. I'm going through timing and scoring on my side right now, Cam, and it looks like you didn't grab biggest mover, but you were the second biggest mover today. Like I said, up 14 positions. So congrats. I know 27th isn't necessarily something you want to celebrate over, right? But it was a good run for you today.
Yeah, thanks. I'm no Jason Clapper, but making up 14 or 15 spots or whatever it was today, I'm very happy with that.
Well, thanks for coming out and racing with us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Joey. See you then.
That was Cam Porter finishing in 27th place here today, Joe.
A little bit higher up in second, we had Mick Claridge also in that same fight with Nieva and co. But Mick, 3 wins does not become 4 today. If you had been a little bit higher up, if you hadn't been fighting with those back for second, do you think you could have caught Andreas, or do you think second was kind of the best that you could do?
Line. Oh, can you hear me now? There we go.
Now we got you.
Yeah, do you know what? I was thinking exactly the same thing. I had a great fight with Andreas yesterday. He was side by side for most of the lap, and then he learnt the track and sort of disappeared a bit off into the distance like he does usually. But yeah, I don't think we were that much slower than him today, you know. So I think I'm gonna say it, Joe. I think he almost got a bit lucky there because we just got stuffed. But we did well. Personally, I made a load of mistakes like I normally do. So yeah, I don't think I could. Maybe could have stayed with him, but I doubt if I could have passed him.
Yeah, it looked like once he had gotten away, and I said this, so once he starts to get a gap, he tends to be hard to catch, unfortunately.
Well, he's got no nerves. He's got no jingles, you know. There's nothing going on. Do you know what I mean? Do you know? I'll tell you what, Joe. Seriously, he reminds me of Going Up Frischer. Because you've been known Going Up for years now, and do you ever see that guy miss an apex? So
Yeah,
he's a bit like him. Yeah.
It just seems very.
Should we talk about back markers?
Yeah. Thank you for the cue. Yes, I mean, talk about that moment. That really seemed to be critical for you. But I know you tend to like more head-to-head fights. What were your feelings on that?
Yeah, I don't mind. Listen, you know, the guy. I don't know if the guy's driven the car before, if he's raced with us, but you know, yeah, coming out the last chicane and then slowing down on the racing line. Jesus, that's just not what I needed. But yeah. But it was all right. We all made it through. Everyone survived, and we had a good fight. So it doesn't matter. You know, it's fine. 130 hours side by side with Togo. I just keep replaying that in my head because that was just nuts.
Well, you've raced against Togo plenty. Were you really worried that something would happen? It seems like you have a lot of trust in him.
Well, the thing about Togo, there's a couple of drivers like Togo. Uwe Trengarade comes to mind. If you're in front of him, you will not get a gap away from him. He is one of the best guys to chase someone down. David Gaspers as well, that guy. Yeah, Togo will not let you get away. And he's brilliant for it. He just dives into the braking zones. The car's flying all over the place, but then he's there on the exit, catching up with you again, you know? So, yeah, I mean, Jesus, side by side with anyone is dodgy around here, especially round a corner like that. So, I don't know. Yeah, I trust all the guys in this series, really. You know, everyone's up to speed in this series on taking lines and giving a bit of space. You do have to give a bit more space than you would in real life. I mean, Joey will tell you all about that. But yeah, so it's good fun. It's good fun. It was a good race today. Really enjoyed it today. I'm going to Rosberg the whole season.
We had a good time watching you battle, and man, David Gaspers, that takes me back because I haven't heard that name in a hot minute. But yeah, congratulations again on a second today, and that's also for you and Jorge, back-to-back podiums. So well done. So that was Mick Claridge for P2, and that's going to wrap us up with a big thank you to the community. So also thanks to the team today, Joey, Christian, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we said, next time out, we're heading off to Austria for the Red Bull Ring, Saturday, January 4th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here, because while this is the last of the 49s, it's not the last broadcast for 2024 on GSRC. IMSA Vintage is up next at Aragon at noon Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.